over the I'm super excited about today's topic of finding fulfillment. I can tell you that BFF events provide me with great personal fulfillment every month. I look forward to connecting with so many amazing women, and I love being inspired by our guest speakers. I'm so proud to announce that since we launched the Business Forward Females program in 2013, we have reached a significant milestone of hosting our 100th event. We have achieved and we're continuing to achieve our vision of growing and building a community for women business professionals where you feel supported, empowered, and have the opportunity to grow personally and professionally. Thank you all for being a part of the BFF community. One of my favorite traditions at our meetings is to welcome our first-time guests and new members. So if you have a new member ribbon or yellow name tag, please stand so we can recognize you and give you a warm BFF round of applause.
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to recognize all our generous sponsors and supporters. When I announce your name, I ask all representatives from the company to please stand so we can recognize you. Please remain standing, and we'll hold our applause until the end. They are our presenting sponsor, Whittier Rehabilitation Hospital, our supporting sponsors, Human Power Solutions, Cedar Law, U Bank, and Webster 5, and special thanks to our BFF friends and supporters of today's event, Cyprian Keys Golf Club, and Karen Henderson from Westboro TV, and also congratulations to Karen as the 2022.
Do you think you're going to get any of that back to the table?
It's now my pleasure to introduce today's guest speaker, Bercume, President of Bercume Associates, Inc. Deb is a talented speaker and executive coach. She partners with professionals who want to move forward and achieve personal and professional fulfillment. Deb is known for her intuitive, direct approach with her clients to support them in playing at the top of their game and creating the life they want. She uses many tools and assessments focused on creating clarity, vision, and forward movement towards setting her clients up for success. In addition to being an in-demand speaker and executive coach, Deb has been a member of the BFF steering committee for many years, providing her support and expertise for our fabulous programs. BFFs, please join me in welcoming to the podium, Deb Bercume.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Deb. Oh, you got much more energy than that. Hello, everybody. Hi, Deb. There you go. How many of you would like to have more fulfillment in your life? Anybody? Yeah. I know, huh? It's been crazy the last few years when you look at it, right? And so when you look at where we are, it's amazing. I go into different organizations for a lot of my work and work with groups and one-on-one. And so a lot of times I get to see kind of what the temperature check is within side organizations. Hasn't been so good some places, right? Because we've been kind of stayed where we are, a lot of us, and we haven't had a lot of movement and a lot of disagreements and conflicts and people not getting along because the whole world is stressful when you think about it, right? So even when I was up in line today, people were talking about it and people not feeling fulfilled. So today I don't have a magic wand, but what I'm hoping you'll be able to kind of grab on to something that's important to you, that you'll be able to look at, all right, what is that that's important to me? Because we're so focused on everybody else, right? When you think about your personal life, your work life. And so this luncheon gives you a chance, and I congratulate you for being here, because I know how busy you are and having meetings on top of meetings. So congratulate yourself for being here, which is a big thing. So you have a packet, the packets that are on the table on the left-hand side is the PowerPoint, so you'll have it, so if you can't see it up here, you'll have it. On the right-hand side, there's a worksheet. You're gonna have a chance to kind of experiment and kind of touch this today. Don't hesitate to ask me questions if you have questions along the way. feel comfortable doing that. So one of the resources that I think was helpful is McKinsey and Lean In published a white paper on women in the workplace in 2002. And one of the quotes was, I think people have come through the pandemic feeling a bit more empowered. We realize that being in a toxic environment where you're not happy is just not worth it, right? And so what I've noticed from people is they were used to kind of just doing what they needed to do, and we're so busy on that treadmill, we weren't even thinking about whether we're happy or not. And then the pandemic happened, and for some industries that were able to kind of take the time out a little bit more, people kind of thought about it, right? A little bit more. What do I really want? What's important to me? And so I think this quote kind of sums it up for people. It's nice being back in person, I'll tell you, because in the last few years I've done a lot of virtual coaching, a lot of virtual training. A couple of weeks ago I was in Newport. Anybody like Newport? I know. It was so nice to see the beach and the water. I had about 75 banking professionals, and seeing the energy in the room was awesome. They were just so excited to be out, to be seeing each other, just like in this room where the energy is high, right? That collaboration, being with people is important to a lot of people. So notice what's important to you and what's not, because that's really at the core of what you're doing. So there's some research out there about women in better jobs. Many women are switching for better jobs, but are also considering downsizing and leaving work, right? So some of us after the pandemic were saying, do I want to go back on that treadmill again? For me, I used to be out there speaking and training and coaching 5 days a week, and I'm like, do I really want to do that? It was fun, it was exciting, but do I really want to go back to that pace again? Right? And it's important to really back up and really look at your whole life. Where does work fit in? And sometimes our identity is tied up in what we do. And we focus so much on work, we don't really back up and look at how does it fit into our whole life. And I think the pandemic did that for a lot of people, where you were able to kind of step back, look at that, and kind of blend it more for those that were working at home. So in the past year, when you look at women, 29% of women and 22% of men have thought about reducing their hours, taking a less demanding job, right? What do I honor, right? Do I stay in this demanding job, or do I want more flexibility? What's important to me? And then leaving the workforce altogether. So when you look at that, those are some of the things that people have been thinking about. So when you think about women, there's some things that have been kind of disproportionate with women versus men when you look at some of the pandemic. There's been a great job loss with women, believe it or not. The Pew Research Center reported in June of 2020 that 11.5 million women compared to 9 million men lost their jobs due to COVID. So that's whether they lost it because they had no choice, or whether they decided to leave, right? Because of other constraints and other pressures that they had, right? So that's a lot of people that left. A higher overall stress level when you look at it. Women also took a harder hit when you think about their well-being. Women tend to be more stressed and sadder about things and the worry than men in general, right? That's what this research had showed, that we tend to, when we look at the whole picture, we tend to blend that home and that work life and the responsibilities that we may have, and that stress level in both worlds, right, is a lot. And then a large increase in workplace burnout. How many people have experienced burnout or see it at work? Yeah, look at all those hands, right? This is huge. Everywhere I go, people are so tapped out. They can't even think. They have meetings on top of meetings, as I said, right? And so that burnout is huge. Then I was talking to a woman I was coaching this morning. She was in a hotel room. It was 6 o'clock in the morning where she was, not where I was. 8 o'clock was early enough for me, but I'm like, oh my gosh, this is at 6 o'clock. She hadn't been home for 3 weeks. She was in a hotel, and she works inside an organization in the quality area, and she was so burned out. And was trying to figure out how was she going to get through the rest of the week because she's so burned out, right? So the conversation went around, because her boss tells her to take time. So it was more of an internal thing for this woman. It was more about, right, really being all in. It's hard, because we're trying to be all in and do everything we can, but then it doesn't leave you any energy for yourself or things at home. Right? So I see that more and more, and when you look at things, life is too short, right? When you look at that piece and looking at what's important. And then the last piece of this research showed increased pressure on working mothers, right? When you look at, especially with the pandemic and trying to figure out with childcare, you know, what do we do? Some of the unpaid care that people needed to take. So it's just an added burden of worry on women as well. So when you think about both men and women, the engagement levels inside organizations are not that high. How many people have seen Gallup's numbers about engagement before? Anybody seen them? A couple of you. Yeah. They're staggering, right? And believe it or not, they really haven't changed over the last 10 years. So there's three categories that they look at this. Engage means that you're at the top of your game, you know, you're really in it, right? You're excited about it, you're happy with what you're doing, you're totally satisfied. Then you got this non-engaged and you got this disengaged. Non-engaged means you're there, right? You're not that excited, you're maybe not playing full out, but you're there. What do you think disengaged is?
Just on that.
Yeah. Right, counterproductive, right? They don't want to be there. They may be absent, right? They may be causing conflict or things with people, right? Stirring up the pot, right? So when you look at this data, it's amazing when you look at this. 32% of people in the United States are engaged. This hasn't changed much, as I said. So in 2019, it was 36%. And I've looked at the numbers over about a 10-year period of time, they really haven't changed much. And for non-engaged, about 51%. So you got people in organizations that are not happy, but they're sticking around, right? And you got 17% that are disengaged, that are really causing some angst. So that's 68% of people in organizations that are really not engaged. What do you think about that? Not good, right? Yeah. And sometimes, you know, when you look at yourself, you say, okay, am I engaged or am I not? Sometimes it depends on the day, right? It depends on what you're doing. Some days you may be playing full out and totally engaged. When I was in Newport, I was totally engaged. I was excited being there. It was really fun, right? But another time, maybe I'm not as engaged. I was with a team last week of 5 women who own a business and they could not get along. I did everything but stand on my head and I just couldn't get them to turn around and do what they wanted, right? Because I engaged there, I was kind of engaged, but I was like, oh my God, right? So when you look at being fulfilled, they weren't feeling very fulfilled, right, in what they're doing. Something's breaking down, right? They're going home, I went home feeling crappy. And I guarantee you, because I've talked to all of them, they didn't feel so hot either. And look at how do you turn that around? How do you really look at what's important to me and being fulfilled? Because if you're not fulfilled, you're not going to be able to give your all in anything that you do. So let's look at this also a little bit differently in terms of yourself. So Sydney Rice, who's an awesome researcher, she had developed what used to be called the paper room, now it's called the Results Accelerator. Came up with this process of looking at ourselves through a system and how do we take a look on when we're playing full out, what do we really want and how do we be fulfilled. One of the pieces of it is taking our life and looking at it in 4 quarters. And it totally makes sense to me. Think about the first 25 years of your life. You're experiencing things, you're growing up, you're learning to see what things are, right? Experimenting a little bit. And then at about age 25, it's not an exact age. So age 25 to 50 is this quarter 2. I find that quarter two, depending on the person, goes between up to 40 or up to 50. So it's not an exact age. Quarter two is when you're building. You're building for your family, you're building for yourself, you're working crazy, crazy, crazy. You'll do things that maybe you don't like so much, right? But you're building for the future. And there's this shift between quarter two and quarter three. Some people call it a midlife crisis. Yes, you can call it what you want, right? But there's this shift between quarter two and quarter three. And it's about, wait a minute, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fulfilling me as much anymore. And I want to give back, right? How do I do this in a way that's meaningful for me, that I do the work I love, but in a different way? And so there's a lot of people that are in that shift. And again, it's not an exact age. I see it a lot between age 40 and 50, but it's not exact, right? And I think even some of the people in quarter two are starting to think about it a little bit earlier, right? Is this really the midst of what I want to do? And that third quarter, you may still be working and doing things you love to do, but you're doing it different. You're honoring more yourself, you're being more authentic about what's important to you, and you're showing up a little bit different. And then they had to add the fourth quarter, the historian, right, because we're living so long, so we're at 75 and older. It's when we want to leave a legacy. What's the legacy that we want to leave? So think about what quarter you may be in and what's important to you. This is a chance to kind of reflect and think about that, right, when you look at this. So in a few minutes, we're going to give you an opportunity to do an exercise to really look at yourself, look at your core needs, and when you're doing that, think about where you may be in those life quarters, because that also may impact your fulfillment of what you're doing. So when you look at this, how do I know what engages and fulfills me in my work? How do you know? It's a good question. How do I advocate for myself to get my needs met? A lot of women in the research and what I see have a hard time advocating for themselves. When you look at the confidence level, I find there's a lot of women that I coach and I'm working with, a lot of it's in their executive presence and their confidence, and how do they keep that up so that it helps them with being promoted, right, being able to play big. It's a huge part. Evaluate my future options and make effective career decisions. Some people feel like they're going to stay in the same path, right? What do I really want to do? What's important to me? Manage my excitement and engagement if I'm not in an ideal situation. So sometimes we're in a situation, it's really not what we want, but if we kind of back up and look at our whole life, there may be something else in our personal life that is keeping us happy, right? Keeping us content. Or maybe you have a hobby and you're doing something outside of work that excites you. And you know that work for right now, there's a purpose for it, but it's not really where you're getting your excitement. And it may be okay for a while. It really depends on your bigger picture when you're kind of looking at what you want. So why? If you're not engaged, energized, happy, satisfied, and fulfilled in your work, your core needs are not being met. It really goes to that core. What's important to me? What are my core needs? What are my values? What's important? So our core needs represent types of experiences we need. Things that jazz us. When you think about really what fulfills you, what makes you happy. And this is satisfaction over time. It may be a period of time, it could be a day. What are those things that make me happy, that engage me, that fulfill me? And it's not just in work. Think about your whole life when you're thinking about this. It makes us unique in what we're doing. Our core needs, it drives our personal effectiveness. Right, when you think about when you're most effective, it's usually when you're doing something that you're passionate about. Right? When we're not passionate, what happens when I'm passionate? Not much, right? We can see it and we can feel it. So it drives our personal effectiveness and our keys to satisfaction at work and at home. So our core needs are huge. And we don't take time to really look at ourselves and what are those core needs. I just take on these different roles at work and at home, and that's where I focus, but I don't really focus on what's important to me. So there's three ways to kind of look at this. One is a point in time. It could be graduation, right? For some people, a graduation is a high point in their life. For others, it's a different type of achievement. For others, it might be a celebration, right? Having an opportunity to celebrate is more important. We're all different. There's no right or wrong. The second is a period in your life. So it may be the summers growing up. For me, it was the summers on Cape Cod. I used to grow up on the beach and work down there for the summer since I was a little kid. And for me, that's my happy place, right? Going to the beach. It could be years in college, so it may not be the graduation that really jazzed you. It may be a period of time, when you were in college, for instance. And the last one is about something you love to do. When I ask the question, what do you do for fun? Most people hate that question. Do you hate that question? Because it's hard to think about. What is fun? What do I do for fun, right? I can't even answer that question sometimes. So for some of us, it may be cycling. For me, it was skiing. When I think about during high school and during college, it was skiing for me. I just felt free. I felt, it was a challenge, and it was fun. Right? And I still think about that. For me, after the pandemic, I said to myself, okay, I want something fun. I want something different. I was just telling Elaine this. And so I saw an ad. And so I've been kickboxing for the last year. How many of you have ever kickboxed? Look at you, a number of you. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But it's so cool, right? That gives me that same feeling it did when I was skiing. Right, that fulfills that. So looking for something that gives you that feeling of fulfillment is really important. For some people, it's music. Music really pulls it out of them, and they feel that joy, right, and that excitement. For other people, it could be just reading a book. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's really tapping into what's most important to you. So that was a lot of information. And now I want to kind of turn it more to you. In your packet on the right-hand side, there's a worksheet. There's two sheets, actually. You can take out both of them. What I'd recommend that you do is to think about one moment in life out of those three situations, a point in time, a period of life, something you'd love to do. And what's one thing when you think about kind of your life over the years, doesn't have to be recent, it can be as a kid, what's one experience that really jazzed you, that you were excited about? This exercise, we usually do a top 10. We're going to taste it today as a top 1. So the first thing is to pick an experience that's important to you, that fills you. And then next to it, write, why was it so great? Why was it important? On that second sheet, it lists out 4 needs. You'll see a list of 4 needs that are there. So try to think about, all right, when I have this experience, what's a core need that's underneath there? And jot down the core needs that you see. For me, it was freedom, it was fun, it was a challenge. So think about your experience and what that core need is. And for me with the skiing, it was kickboxing and it's also challenging work assignments. So next to that core need, what's another way of getting that excitement back in my life? So take a couple minutes and reflect on yourself and pick one experience that really jazzed you and reflect on that, write down why it was so great or important, come up with a core need underneath. So I'm going to give you a few minutes and I'll walk around. and then you'll have an opportunity to share it with someone. So I'll give you just 20 seconds more because I can see the pens. Well, this exercise for people tends to be really powerful. When we do it, we're doing 10 experiences. And we call it the dreaded top 10, trying to come up with 10 experiences in your life that really jazz you, right? But what you get out of it is unbelievable when you look at it. Think about the gas tank in your car. When it's full, right, you can go. When it's empty, you're deflated, right? You're depleted. And so that's what this is. When this gas tank that you chose, your core needs are depleted, that's when you're not really feeling that great, right? Things aren't, you're like, okay, I'm not that jazzed about this, I'm not that jazzed about that. It's looking at what can I do to fill that back up again, right? So that I am feeling and playing for it. So what I recommend is that you find somebody in the room at a different table who you don't really know. This will be a better experience doing that. You're going to have 5 minutes each. Share your what you wrote, right? Talk through it, and then share the core needs that you're pulling out of it, and the new activity that you're thinking, and then get some feedback from your partner. Right? So you're going to have 5 minutes each. So watch your time. I'll let you know when it's 5 minutes. So go find somebody that you don't really know.
So one of my highlights on the top series was actually bringing my family to Long Island this past summer. My daughter just turned 1 year old. My boys were at that point 7 and 9, and we went. We took the ferry over. We got to kind of explore everything that Long Island had to offer. We got to take the kids to a really fancy, like, special restaurant, so they were in their, button downs, and, it was very cute, but I constantly, one of my core needs is being present and having that experience with my family. Coming home from work and trying to juggle mom and household and all of that stuff, it really is very important so you can have that presence, that interaction with them, that they got mom's full attention, and it was that trip that really just gave us all that experience. And I was saying to Casey, my kids have been to Disney, and this was like, Mom, that was the best vacation we've ever been on. So it's one of those that it's always going to have that very fond memory for me. So
what's an activity that you came up with that you can recreate that feeling?
We try to make sure that we spend time every week having that, like, we're all, like, devices are away, the kids aren't playing with something, like, we're all just together and we have that moment. We try to do it as often as we can during the week, but it's like, what was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? What was something you could have done better? What's something that you want to try to change for tomorrow? So we do try to have those moments that we interact and engage in that way. And that for me is like, that keeps me going.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, so if you have family in your experience, just know for work, it usually translates into a team. So if at the core, being that family, that collaboration, being with people, you also want to think about what's experience at work, what's a new activity that would jazz me. So if that gas tank is empty, is it something that I individually want to do? Or do I have this also core need of collaboration with a team? So know if you wrote family, that's one indicator that teams are probably important to you and having that team experience. All right, let's hear another one. Who's willing to stand up? You guys are shy all of a sudden. Come on, Megan.
So mine is actually doing a volunteer event for the first time. A couple of ladies around me.
Okay.
For me, it really made me push past the fear. It took me from being a background singer to being a front singer.
You say background singer to front singer? Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. But I hadn't done any music for 18 years at that point. So it also kind of gave me back what happened to me that I didn't know. It allowed me to kind of embrace myself fully with all of my flaws. It made me try things that I wasn't comfortable with. But it actually also really helped me towards boundaries and being able to say, nope, too many people, I gotta go, I'll be back, and start to manage that. So it helped me identify my core needs of my introvert time, music. I realized I needed a light form of structure.
Light form of structure, music, and then this is the first one that you said.
Introvert time.
Introvert time.
And that I need autonomy in order to be expressive, but that I also need team time and quiet time.
Okay, and what's your new activity you're gonna do?
I am actually in the process of finding a new core group for my business time.
So finding a new core group for your business?
Yeah, I know for my
Music. Okay, yeah. Awesome. All right, give both of them a hand. So tapping into your core needs is at the root of where you think about your engagement, your excitement, of what's important to you. And if you can figure out what that is, and be able to start recognizing your own awareness when your energy is up and when it's down, right? You can really read it in yourself and you can read it in other people. And what can you do to fill that gas tank, right, to really make a difference? Because when you look at what's missing, it's usually that inner peace, right? It's not that we need to be more busy, right? It's really being busy with what's important to us. The other piece when you think about work, there's got to be a connection with your core needs in the organization. When you look at the organizations that you're working with, and some of you it's your own organization, other ones are internal, but it also has to align with what the values and the core needs are of the organization. If there's a disconnect, that can also be on your core needs. Also with your manager. That's huge. Most people stay or leave a job because of their manager, that relationship. So think about that. And then think about your role. What is my role? And does my role really allow me or enable me to really use my core needs and stay in what really makes me happy when I look at that? So
So when you look at today, I wanted to give you an idea when you think about all that's going on in the world, right? So if all that feels heavy, it's perfectly natural that you feel like that, right, with everything going on. And looking at, all right, you can do something about it. You're the only one that can identify what your core needs are and what to do about them and how do I fill them. So let me see if there's any additional questions. We have a couple of minutes. Anything anybody's wondering? So do you like the exercise?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, good. Thank you.
a great round of applause. That was a wow moment. You know why? I think sharing is a lot of value in it when we get to share with each other. I'm so grateful to Deb because I called her and asked her if she would do this program and she came back with this topic. And I thought it was very fitting. The statistics are a little staggering for women to hear how we're taking some giant steps back, but I know we're going to take giant steps forward because we're going to ask for what we want. The other thing that I thought was so valuable about all this too is it makes us stop and think about what is going to make us happy and fulfilled. And personally, it made me stop and think too. And I will tell you that, first of all, I want to tell you kind of a funny story. So I got a chance to go to Newport at our professional development conference about a week and a half ago. And I told my own executive board that I was going, and they fully support professional development. And I said, well, it is in Newport, and they laughed. And I said, that little mini trip away did do me wonders. First of all, because I have such great memories of a place that I used to spend a lot of time there. And I was thinking about that when you talked about personal fulfillment. So I'll share for you my funny story first. So I had put out, I was out of office, and of course it would say I would be returning on this date. So a good friend of mine that I serve on their board had emailed me about something, and then he texted me, and he said, I just sent you something, but I want you to know that your email said that instead of returning, that I'll be retiring on this date. And it was hilarious because him and I just talked about that 2 chamber presidents did submit the retirement notice. And he's like, is there something you want to tell me? And I got the biggest kick out of that. So that started my professional development process with a laugh, with me calling, actually, Carlene in my office saying, I can't get to my computer right now, can you go make that change? Otherwise, there'll be a lot of people blowing up my email right now. Secondly, that finding that fulfillment piece for me was a lot more about personal time. And in my 30s, I spent a lot of time going to Myrtle Beach vacations with girlfriends. And those shared experiences is part of my core value. And I shared with Amy Brewis, who was my partner, that I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. But there are times you need to escape what you do. And going in another state where nobody knows what I do, and what was more scary to me is, and I will share with you, when I told people what I did, they had no idea what I did. So I got to a point with a very good friend of mine. I said, listen, we're on vacation. This is an escape for me. I am not going to be working for the Chamber of Commerce. I am going to pick a job that they understand. I didn't realize what that was going to do to me when I did that, because she decided she was going to be a nurse, and I decided that I was going to be an attendant on a plane. So for her, every time she met somebody, everybody told her about every ache and pain. And then I'm like, what are you going to do? She goes, I just told them to stop doing that. They said, this hurts when I go. She said, I just say stop doing that. And for me, I just said I flew all over the world. It didn't matter because nobody really knew me. But what really I walked away from talking about personal fulfillment is the shared experience, the fun. And I was just talking about this with my best friend the other day. For me, it's belly laughs. That's what I remember. The laughs, the shared experience, the fun that I have. I have a lot of fun in my job, but I need that shared time and shared experiences with other people for me to find that personal fulfillment. So when you talked about your family time, and that it all resonated with me. So I find that these are wonderful programs that makes us stop and think about the things the changes we have to make. Last month's topic, this month's topic. So Deb, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for a terrific program, because I think we all walked away with something. Thank you so much. Deb, stand up here for a few minutes, because she's actually going to give away a coaching session, so one of you are going to be one of the winners. All right, before we conclude today, there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about that I'm actually excited about, and that is our next program is going to be on December 6th. We're going to be right back here. It's our holiday BFF luncheon, so we do plan on having a little fun at this lunch. We are going to have a guest speaker, and the other thing about personal fulfillment is this is our opportunity to give back. So since we started BFF, we've had an annual fundraiser for the Grafton House, and the chair of the board and I have had the opportunity to visit that place more than once to be able to provide all the donations that this generous community has given. These are young women who have had some crisis in their life right now and have found this home to be a safe place for them. And eventually they do go back, most of them, do go back to living at home. And what we have found that this is a great community for them, and sometimes they've been suffering or touched by abuse, family conflict, and crisis. We've met some of these women. We've talked to the program manager. We've been doing this fundraiser now, I think, for almost 9 years. And I'm very proud to say we've given over $7,000 in donations back to these girls at the Grafton House. So we are going to do it again on December 6th. What I'm asking all of you is, we just want you to make a gift card donation. These girls want to be able to have a brighter holiday season to a local store, or you can make a cash donation. We are going to email all of you, and then we personally give a donation back to them. One year, the girls actually had a conversation, and they didn't want the gift cards. They didn't want any of that. Well, actually, that's not true. They did want it, but they needed things for their home. So they went and used all the gift cards and bought things for their home. So I thought it was very interesting. And they went out and had a Chinese dinner and they loved it. So it was nice to hear about the joy that we provided them. So that is going to be our annual fundraiser again this year. And I'm excited to share with you some of our speakers for next year. So we've confirmed a lot of them in 2023 and we're still working on them, but I will tell you that U.S. Today's best-selling and award-winning author Hank Philippi Ryan is going to be joining us in April. Hank has been a popular favorite. She's a great speaker. She usually sells out, packs out the house when she comes. We've had her at regular breakfast meetings and she's coming back here. She remembers speaking at these events. We also have a woman by the name of Jamie Parker. She's the creator and host of Outside the Fame. This is a half-hour TV series, and what she does is she interviews current or former athletes from New England Ties, and she was the first woman to be the public announcer in the Boston Bruins in New England Revs history. So that's a little feather in her cap. And what I'm really excited about, I want you to put this on your calendar right now. On March 8th is International Women's Day, and we're going to have a celebration. Okay? We did it last year. Some of the women remembered. It's wine and dessert tasting. We're definitely going to have some of that. We're going to have an amazing speaker, and I promise you, you're going to have a darn good time. So last year, we had over 70 women that attended. It's going to be here. It'll start at 4 o'clock. We are going to offer exhibiting opportunities. Stay tuned. There'll be more information about that. So those of you that would like to sell a product or like to exhibit, you can talk to Carlene. We'll put you on our wait list. We're just confirming all the details. But I can promise you, you're going to walk away having a good time. Raise your hand if you were there last year. Did you have fun? We're going to have some fun. So I hope we'll come back on that. And then the other thing I want to talk to you about is another annual event, which is open to all of our members, and that's on December 14th. That's our annual holiday snowball. This is actually a legendary holiday member party. It's for all of you. And why it's legendary is because you're going to remember a lot of the fun that you're going to have at this event, and you're going to meet a lot of people that you don't normally always meet at other events. But we give away a 50-bottle wine collection. We give away $5,000 in cash prizes. We have an ugly sweater contest, for a chance to win a $100 cash prize. We have a buffet dinner, and we have a lot of entertainment. And we're going to have a snowball fight this year. What that means, you'll have to come to see what that means. So we're planning something really fun. And since Megan actually stood up and shared a little bit of story earlier about her passion for singing,
She's going to sing at the event?
she sang in a past event, and I'm going to share one of the stories that I just told Elaine, that's one of my favorite stories. So when Megan joined the chamber, which is a little over 5 years now, she came to her first overview about the chamber, and in the room she told everybody there that she hates networking. She's uncomfortable with it. And about 5 women after the overview went up to her and said, we're going to help you with that. And so the story went that she decided to join. I think she joined every committee I had. And she started building relationships that have led to her building her business. She's also one of my best networkers today. She also helps other women who are uncomfortable, and she'll meet with them and help them meet a lot of people in the room. She was our 2020 Small Business of the Year Award recipient. And one thing that she did, which is still my favorite story, she knows I'll tell the story whenever I get a chance. So this is a girl that hated networking, was very shy, although she said she was never really shy, but was very uncomfortable with networking. So the first year of the snowball, she came, she had a good time. The second year, she walked up to me prior to the snowball and said to me, I'm going to bring it this year. And I said, and that meant she was going to participate in the sweater contest. She was going full-blown costume. And I said, I can't wait to see it. And true to the story, she showed up with everything blinking, ringing, everything you could possibly think of. She was in full gear for the sweater contest. Well, she was selected as a semifinalist. But what she didn't really know, she might have had an idea. I pulled her aside and I said, you have to win the audience's vote for the $100 cash prize. And she said, well, how do I do that? And I said, well, these are your 3 choices. You either have to do a catwalk, you have to tell a joke, or you have to sing. And we have never had anybody sing. She said to me,
Disclose that, by the way. That was not disclosed.
of course I don't disclose that. And then she said, I'm going to sing. And so she got up. I think 3 people went before you. She was the last. She got up, she sang, she blew us away, and you won by audience applause. And when I went up to her and I put my hand over her head, there was such a thunderous applause that people stood up for her. She didn't black out on the floor, but she does not even remember the moment. And she won the $100 cash prize. So she's one of my best stories. The power of the chamber, the power of relationships, the power of doing the things that are uncomfortable for you. These are the stories that I love to get to share all the time. And I want to thank you for participating with us, because I love to hear all your own stories as we talk about all of you along the way. So, lots of fun. December 14th, Holiday Snowball, we hope you come. The other opportunity that I'm going to put out to you, we do a Best of Business Showcase table. That means all of our members can have their name on that table by donating a prize. And then a lot of us buy raffle tickets for a chance to win some amazing prizes. I think there were over 70 raffle prizes on our Best of Business. So if you'd like to participate and donate something, we would welcome a prize. All right. So my final piece of business is actually to give away prizes. And I'm going to let Deb pick the winner of her prize right now. And so, get the name tags.
All right, does anyone else have any tags with your name on it?
All right, you ready? So this is for a coaching session, and it's to do a coordinator of the top 10. You did the top 1, so you're going to get a full list of your coordinates. You ready?
Holly Kenny.
Oh!
tell you your story. I met with Holly a couple weeks ago, and they said, I haven't seen you at BFF for a while. She hired an office manager, and she's back, and she won the promise. Welcome, Holly. All right, my final prize to give away is, well, it is Thanksgiving, right? So we need a little wine to go with the Thanksgiving dinner. So, and the winner is Julia LeBlanc. Share her story. Congratulations, Julia. All right, ladies, I wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving. My final ask is, it is tradition we do a group photo, and I need you all to meet me over in that corner where those double doors